Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Are you tired of working for money instead of making the money work for you? Or are you exhausted working from 9 to 5 just for someone else's money to compound over time? Or let's just guess it. You're too tired of taking your CV from company to company in India and now you've finally decided to invest your way to financial freedom. If you've ever heard from your mama ji, beta kitabe padha karo, zindagi savar jayegi, then today we're going to prove how your mama ji was damn right. Either way, you're exactly where you need to be, because today we bring you the key extracts from the Bible of the investing world, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. The janitor philanthropist, popularly known as Ronald Read, used to donate millions of dollars to good causes. He was a mechanic at a gas station for 25 years, then a janitor at J.C. Penney for another 17 years. Truth be told, life wasn't simple for him. Apart from that, he had a small 2-bedroom house, and many of his friends simply say that his main hobby was chopping firewood. Reed passed away in the year 2014 at the age of 92. But, astonishingly, he made some serious headlines when everyone got to know that he left his kids some $2 million and donated his local hospital as well as the library $6 million. May the soul of this humble janitor rest in peace. When this news came out, those who knew him were in a state of shock and denial. But, truth be told, there was no secret lottery or inheritance. He simply saved as much money as he possibly could and he invested his savings in the stock market. And then he waited. He waited long enough, and soon the results started to appear. His tiny savings were compounded into $8 million. And this is because he unleashed the power of investing by making use of compound interest. Now you might want to look at the other side as well, because in the same year, Eric Williams, who retired with a fortune of more than $40 million by playing professional basketball, ended up being homeless with thousands of dollars in debt. The interesting thing is, how can we relate these two different perspectives to finance? And how did a person with no degree, no financial training, no connections, and no fortune in inheritance manage to muster some serious wealth? It's not possible to think of a janitor performing better heart surgery than a certified surgeon. According to the author Morgan Housel, it comes down to our psychology. For those of you unaware, Morgan Housel is a partner at the Collaborative Fund, and his book, The Psychology of Money, has sold over 2 million copies and already has been translated into more than 40 languages. Let us go over the top ideas we can extract from the book, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Takeaway number 1. Behavior outperforms intelligence. According to Morgan Housel, when we are going to school, we are actually taught to learn things mechanically. We are taught subjects like math, physics, and philosophy, and everything makes sense because there's a rule for literally every theory we're being taught at the school. Now that's where the problem starts. As adults, we actually think we can solve our money problems in the same manner which enabled us to solve some mathematical problems. But that's not true. For example, when an average adult steps into the money game in the Indian stock market, he is actually forced to think that if he wants to accumulate millions or even billions of dollars in his bank account, it's going to be as straightforward and easy as one of the mathematical rules. Invest X amount of money in stocks, which will bring Y% rate of returns, and bang, that's it, he's rich. He was taught just to use those theoretical formulas and he will gain all the money in the world. Truth be told, there's absolutely no problem to understand and going through the numbers side of finances, but sometimes it can have adverse effects on our psychology. Now, for example, there are many people out there who want to learn how to play the guitar, but very few of them actually learn how to play it. Even though they have the equipment, the tutor, as well as the guidebook, they're still not able to learn how to play the guitar. According to Morgan Housel, the problem is with the brain and what happens inside our brain, which actually determines the result. Similarly, Morgan Housel puts it that we are made to learn about the money game in the same way we were taught about some math rules and not enough about psychology and emotional health. Financial intelligence is not science, but in fact, it is a soft skill. Doing well with money has little to do with how intelligent you are and a lot more to do with how you manage your behavior. This is exactly why rich people with poor behavior end up in a financial crisis sooner or later in their life, whereas ordinary people with little education but with good behavior and emotional ability can accumulate some serious wealth over the long term. It's not what they know, but how they behave that makes them wealthy. Takeaway number 2. Be reasonable. Don't try to be over-rational. How you can create wealth is a little different from an algebraic problem. It has more to do with your character and your behavior. Now, every stock investor on Wall Street knows that there are great investing strategies out there working great on paper, but they do not let us sleep at night. For example, there's an investment strategy that enables us to hold a 2:1 leverage over our portfolio. Let's make it clear. For every dollar you're investing in the market, you're borrowing $2 as well. But are they going to be comfortable with being under that debt? The popular answer will be, the math works great, but the debt is simply overwhelming my finances. According to Morgan Housel, it is always better to think reasonably than rationally. Those dollars may look crunchy and tasty, but if they're putting you in some serious trouble in the long term, then you should not go for it. The goal for the majority of value investors in the stock market is to stay in the market for as long a period as possible so that they can utilize the power of compound interest. But if we can't emotionally handle a high-risk, high-reward strategy, then it would be safer for us to jump off the ship when the proceedings get rough. Alternatively, it would be much easier for us if we go with the strategy that we're emotionally much more comfortable with. Now, this will enable us to sleep well at night, and eventually it will also allow us to stay invested in the market for a long time, hence unleashing the power of compound interest and making big returns. Making lower but safe returns are much healthier than going for those bigger but riskier returns. The formula is simple. If we can't handle the risk emotionally, then it will cause some serious emotional distress, ultimately leading to emotional decisions which, in the investing world, lead to financial disasters. Takeaway number 3. There's a price for almost everything. If you're into the money game, you certainly know about the S&P 500. And for those of you who don't, the S&P or Standard & Poor's 500 is simply an index that represents 500 of the largest publicly traded companies in the US. Similarly, we have the BSE Sensex and the Nifty 100 indices in the Indian investing landscape. We all know that in the last 30 years, the S&P 500 had a 946% return. So that seems pretty easy, right? Just throw all of your hard-earned dollars in it. But wait, all you're looking at is the result, and you're ignoring the bigger picture. The game is not that easy. When on and off, the markets lose more than 30% of their value, and we see our life savings dwindle. Like everything else, investing in the stock market has a price. And interestingly, you're not going to pay this price in dollars or cents, but in volatility, fear, and uncertainty. Let's suppose that you want to buy a fancy new car that almost everyone is buying. Now there are many options for you. You can either buy the latest model for $25,000 or you can buy an older one for $10,000. Or the third option can be to simply go and steal it. Okay, not many people are going to go with the third option because they know what price they're going to pay if they get caught by the cops, and that is being behind bars. You might be thinking, how is this related to investing? Let's say that you bought some stocks and now you're expecting returns worth 15%. These returns can get that fancy car for you. But just like everything else, these returns have a price too, and they're not free. There can be some volatility, big ups and big downs, or even in the worst case scenario, a market crash and a recession period. Now, there are a few investors who are actually going to pay the price and stand their ground till the storm passes. When they pay the price, they can get their hands on these precious returns and ultimately the fancy car. Others might choose to jump off the ship and decide that they don't want to pay that price. They end up buying the older model of that car. So you can decide which one are you, and you can let us know about your views in the comment section below. Takeaway number 4. If you fail, that doesn't mean you cannot win. Everyone knows about Disney and how it has taken over the hearts of many children who will literally fight their parents to watch their favorite cartoon on TV. Most of us pretty much know that Disney is the company that owns literally everything in the film world. Animated movies, superheroes, Star Wars, and yes, Cinderella. Not many of us know that if it wasn't for the movie Cinderella, Disney might have defaulted and ceased to exist today. They were completely in debt, and many of their films resulted in a loss of a lot of money. Just when they needed something to hold on to, they came into a contract with the US government for World War II propaganda. The spark came for Disney when they released Cinderella, and it accumulated $8 million in its first 6 months. It was due to the sparkle and the state-of-the-art production that led them to pay their debt and get out of financial distress by producing some great movies and eventually making Disney World. The idea of the whole story is that one failure doesn't mean you'll not be able to win. You don't need to be perfect, and you don't need to fire all your bullets accurately. When we look at the careers of legendary investors like Warren Buffett, Mark Cuban, Peter Lynch, and Jamie Dimon, we can see that their careers had a lot of ups and downs, and truth be told, it's part of building wealth. In the words of the legendary Warren Buffett, don't watch the market too closely. If you're trying to buy and sell stocks, don't worry when they go down a little bit. And in the words of the billionaire Mark Cuban, you only have to be right once. Takeaway number 5. Wealth is invisible. According to the legendary investor Warren Buffett, rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, always remember the first rule. When we think about getting wealthy, many luxuries come to our minds straight away. For example, going on that trip to Rome, eating at the fanciest restaurants, driving a luxury car, and wearing the fanciest clothes. But that's not how it works in the billionaire lane. According to Morgan Housel, you can't really see wealth. We see the cars, the mansion, and the yacht, but in reality, we don't know anything about the person who owns these luxuries. It might be possible that the owner of these things is under serious debt, or the car was bought on a loan. Morgan Housel puts it that wealth is invisible. The truth about this is that wealth is composed of dollars you never converted into financial assets. You see, rich and wealth are two different terms. Someone driving a fancy car might be rich while being under debt. And it is pretty easy to spot rich people because they make their money visible. True wealth is invisible. So those were some key takeaways from the book The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. How are you guys planning to make the most out of this book? Let us know in the comment section below. Make sure you press the like and subscribe buttons for more content that can help you achieve your financial freedom.